I'm Kate,
I'm Elle.
and we are down to Faye. Elle has our book rec this week, and you are never gonna guess which genre it's from.
Look, I haven't intentionally been making my recent book Rex Reverse Harem, but I like what I like.
It's
And
like we were like we're gonna do standalone book reviews anyway. So here's a list of reverse harems.
also things we've done before, but we talk about so much that
Yes.
just it's fun to keep coming back to. It's a nice palate cleanser
Well, and
sometimes.
it's good, but it's not. I mean, it's not gonna blow you away, but
Well,
it's fun.
there's shorter books. It's like you can catch on pretty quickly to what's going
hmm
on. So it's interesting, but it's not I don't know, super intensive reading. And again, we have recommended this before, but again, it's been a while. So let's talk about it.
Let's talk about it.
The series is called Power of Five by Alex Liddell.
I just want to point out, though, that another reverse harem has made its way onto our Kindle. I was looking last night and I was like, is this the one we read in Italy about the dragons?
Speaking of me and fixation that I have, no, it is not. It's a different one. It's a reverse harem about dragon riders that may or may not make it into our recommendations coming up in the next few weeks.
It's funny because it looked like the exact same cover as the other dragon reverse harem.
Well, it's interesting because the way they did the cover, she has this long flowing hair, and I was like, this girl has a shaved head. So interesting. I know. She's not like other girls. It's different.
Well, and you love reverse. We both love reverse harems, but you have very specific rules for your harem. Like if we had our own harems before we get into the book rec, just so everyone knows, if you want to be part of our harems, I like for everyone to be involved and they can have their own things going on between them. But obviously I have to be the focus where you will not allow your harem to do anything without you.
I am very possessive of my MMCs. You are mine. Yeah. So if it's a reverse harem and everybody's worshiping me, and I don't know how to say that, respectfully, I am very happy to read some male on male on the side, but don't tell me you're madly in love with me and then you're fucking my other madly in love person. And then that's fine. Not everybody, some people love to have polyamory. And so I don't mean anything negative by it. I get kind of possessive.
It's just for your harem.
So
your personal preference.
I'm in the second book and something popped up and I was like, oh, that's unexpected. Where is this going? So I don't know. Also, sad news. I found out the third book won't be out till July. So
I hate that.
I was like, I'm reading this. I'm enjoying it. We're adding some more mates to our harem and then pause. So I think it'll probably be a recommendation at some point, but now I'm gonna have to wait a while to finish it.
What's it called?
Why you gotta be like that?
Well, I'll talk about, I just finished Blood of Hercules and it's still my entire personality. And I don't think that you would like it because there's two what am I trying to say? Two guys and two guys that are together.
Okay.
And they both kind of want her to be in their group, but they're already in love.
Well, it's a little different though. If I approach it knowing that's a thing. So reading Beasts of the Briar, she walks in on two of the guys having sex. So
I know
they're
would
already
that feel
established.
like cheating if we're already in a harem? I don't know.
Well, so the difference in this book is that they had a past love that they hid from her, and they haven't been together. But then I don't give too many spoilers.
We don't even know the name of the book.
Well, she gets married to one of the guys because she can't marry all of them, right? And it's a long thing. But she gets married to one of them, and then he's like, "Oh, I'm actually also still love him." And she was like, "Oh, can we have talked about that first?" So it's not that it's cheating or anything. Yeah. It just, that's something I needed to know sooner, just so I could prepare myself because she felt blindsided by it. So then I was defensive in her behalf, and it's a different setup. The series is called The Dragon Queen.
Okay.
So
I mean, how could we have ever guessed that?
It is actually different. Not to totally lose what we're talking about, but it is different from any of the other dragon rider books I've read so far because the dragons hatch a gold female dragon who is the queen, and
she is hatched by a dragon.
No, she's a queen dragon. Sorry. She's a queen dragon.
Is she she's a shifter?
No, not our main character. I'm sorry.
Okay.
No. There's the humans and the dragons.
Okay.
And then the humans have no magic, and it's a long story, but they started working with the dragons, and on the dragon side of things, most of the dragons a lot of them are male, but the females tend to be gold and they are queens.
Okay.
And only a queen, obviously, I think, actually, I'm not even sure if there are any other females. Question. But they can only hatch the next queen. So you have like a queen in waiting, but they're always gold. And all of the minute they go into heat, all of the males from all around, they like send out a blast. It's very like Black Dagger Brotherhood.
I was just about to say that. I actually love that very like sub genre or trope or whatever, where it's like, I mean, in heat, but it's like they call it kneading in Black Dagger Brotherhood, I think, where it's like a time where
her body sends out waves of hormones,
and all the men are
around,
like if you're in the vicinity,
I'm available to mate.
Yeah,
it's very, very similar, but so it changes things with like when people try to manipulate the power struggle and like keep it all in one bloodline, and so it's interesting. It's different.
I love that that's not even our book rec this week.
But we're on a tangent.
Tangent. Also, before we start, we've already started, but I started When the Moon Hatched, the audiobook. No fucking clue what's going on. Oh. Like I went from, I think it's because when I listen to audiobooks, they have to be like fun, light reads. I can't, if it's like the prologue, when it was setting up the world and like gods, I can't tell if the gods are like real or like metaphors, or if
that's why dragons. We kind of did like a longer book rec on that one, because the world is a very weird structure in that one. It's very like everything seems like vertical because they line things up like this is at the top, this is in the middle, and I'm like, is this round?
Yeah, I can't tell what's like literal when
like
they're talking about
they're like stripes all around a globe or like a like it's weird description. So like it was a lot to try to get through. I mean, I love audiobooks, but it helps me a lot to read it myself first.
Yeah, it has to. If I'm going into something that is complex world building, I probably need to read it so I can like highlight and go back, because I have no idea what's going on right now.
There's a map. I've forgotten. I haven't read it in a while. I think there's
I never look at maps. I say I love maps because I love like when you open a book and it's really pretty map. Where everything's located is none of my business.
Well, it does have a glossary that helps you because some of the names are similar or their family. And you're like, wait, is this his brother or his son? So like it does help to, at least when you're reading the book, to have that available. But yeah, I also we were joking that the person that did the audio of this series, the Power 5.
Oh my God. Do not do the audiobook. So
sometimes they like ruin characters by trying to like do these ridiculous accents. And you're like, no.
Well, and it's one woman doing the whole thing. So this is the Power 5 if you look at on Audible. And this poor woman has done a different accent for all 4 men. And it is like, one is the British accent. The royal, of course, is like a British accent. But then when Ty started talking and he sounded like...
It's sort of Scottish, but it's like it sounds like Fat Bastard from Austin Powers.
I was like, no!
But she gives all of them attitude. And I was like, no. It just... And that was just the prologue. So like, if you're going to read this... I know we have people that love audio, but like it's more fun. Just read it.
Just hire a male narrator. Like I just can't... I can't do the female doing the male voice.
And again, if this is a smaller series, maybe they can't afford some of like the best narrators. Maybe that's, and
I feel like a bitch.
Well, I mean, I don't mean to be an asshole to people doing the narration because they're trying. Like you got to learn somewhere, but it's
it's not like that. She's a great narrator. If I'm going to be like in the world and sexually attracted to these male characters, it needs to be like a grumbly voice.
It's like the first. No, that's not it. And I'm like, stop it. Just stop.
Well, and if you're looking this up, so there's The Power of 5. That's another series about like kids with supernatural powers. No orgies in that one, I'm sure.
They're kids.
But we're talking about Power of 5, and that the cover is a woman like walking in a red dress.
Yeah, so it's definitely going to be easier. Like just leave the word "the" out. Yeah. It is simply Power of 5 by Alex Liddell. And the world building is not as complex. That's why we're saying it's like kind of an easy, fun read. Like not as complex as some of our other series, but it's not lacking either.
Yeah, there is lore, but the series is focused more on the characters and relationships. And there are somehow 7 books, which either I blew through and didn't realize I had read so many, or I didn't finish it.
No, and I didn't even, until we were talking about it before we started this, I didn't even know there were 7 books. when I first bought this series in 2019, there were only 4 books out, and the way the 4th book
It
finishes,
was done. It was
it
wrapped.
seems like the end. And
Mhm.
then, as you mentioned it, I went back and looked. There's 3 books that have come out since then, starting in 2020, and when you read the summary, the storyline is completely different.
Mhm.
It's somehow the same characters, but, like, everything gets changed. So, I can't really speak for the final 3 books. So, like, as I'm doing this recommendation today, I'm talking about the first 4 books.
Mhm.
They seem to kinda end at the 4th book.
Yeah.
If
But
there's
if
any
you wanted more in that
Yeah,
world,
if you
you
wanna
can go
keep
on.
going, it might be really interesting. It just
They, like, lose their memories and go to another school, so it's
well,
just kind of a way to
they go to the human world because this story is mostly in the Fae world.
yes.
Everybody loses their memories except for the main girl, and suddenly they're in, like, a military
Oh, I'd be
academy.
so they're gonna start fucking other people if they lost their
Yeah,
memories.
well, and now they're teachers, now,
You're not
like,
gonna allow that from your harem.
it's basically a totally different series that she's trying to add to this one that I was like, okay,
Mhm.
this feels like a stretch, but
Yeah,
it
so it's in
so
the mortal lands that we start in this book in the mortal lands, but then we don't
it's
really go
very
back.
brief.
Mhm.
So when I tell you about the world building that I know from the first 4 books, I can't tell you a whole lot about the mortal lands. There are multiple realms, but the main 2 they discuss would be the mortal lands and the Fey lands. And then as the story progresses, you start to hear about some other areas. But again, we start in the mortal world before quickly moving to the Fey world.
Yeah, we just don't learn much about the mortals because boring.
Just not very
No.
exciting. I can't confirm if people in the mortal world have magic. It's not really discussed much. The main magic that we learn about is Fey magic. So most of the Fey, the magic seems to gravitate toward being elemental, healing, or protective magic.
Mhm.
Sometimes some of both. We also learn that the Fey lands have 3 main kingdoms, which we were discussing is a little interesting instead of having 4 because it's kind of based on elements. So they have Flurry, the ice court, which I'm going to associate with water, Slate, the earth court, and Blaze, the fire court. And I was like, where is the
Where's
air
air?
court? Like, okay. So we just have 3 main courts. Each kingdom also has their own warriors and standing army, but there is a neutral and unique magic that calls Fae in groups of 5.
So, with a group of 5, I'm sure you can see where this is going. Although this situation is very unique, they're not usually, like, fucking each other.
No, it's
Is it
the
taboo? Are people like, "Oh my god," or is it just
No, it's kind of more like a lot of the bonds, and we'll get into it, but a lot of the bonds are more like almost like brotherhood.
Mhm.
The magic is intentionally to draw warriors together who's from different kingdoms. It's neutral, that their magic can work together with training, make them stronger as a unit because it's to protect all of the Fey lands.
Mhm.
It's not really based in a specific kingdom. The neutral area is called the Citadel Court. So when it was created, the magic was created to draw them all together. You can't apply to go there. You're only there if the magic has brought you forward to be part of a quint for training.
And the magic, if you're in a quint, it's much stronger than your individual magic, so it is in your best interest. Like, everyone wants to be in a quint, but you wanna make it work. Like, they wanna make it work with her after first they're gonna try to get rid of her, but then it's like, "Okay, we have to make this work because we're gonna be so much stronger together."
Well, and again, I think we talk about it a little bit as we get into it. There's different liabilities for each group, and usually where somebody has a weakness, somebody else will have a strength that kind of like helps them to all come together cohesively. This is a very unique situation as the
Mhm.
story begins because the Quints again, they're training together to protect all Fey lands because there is another realm called Moors where it's not quite like hell, but, like, there's dark and evil
I mean, that's like
creatures. It's like
Mordor.
unseelie versus seelie fae, like, things
Mhm.
are dangerous that are leaking or sneaking into their realm.
Mhm.
The book does begin with a prologue, and we end up meeting our 4 MMCs there. They are a quint, but they lost their 5th member a decade ago, and they've been waiting for the magic to reassign them a new 5th member.
And when the magic finally does, they all assume it's a fluke because it is a mortal female. They're
We're
like, "Disgusting."
we're like, "What? Mortal female and fey males?" Shook. Never heard of that.
This is brand new.
They do assume it's a fluke though, because the Quints are always fey. this is based on the Fey lands. It's Fey magic. And the majority of the Quints are male. So like maybe some of them are fucking, but like it's more
Just be as like a circle jerk.
Yeah, it's like a bond between their souls, but it's not like romantic. It's just like they are linked. They can trust each other.
Their magic is like complementary.
Yeah, there are a few female Quints, but again, majority are male. The only mixed gender Quint is actually the one that makes up the leadership of the Citadel. And I don't think that they are a reverse harem group. I think that
what a letdown.
I know. I'm trying to remember. I think there's 2 females and 3 males. Like they're all like bonded, and it's like they're good friends, but at the same time, they're each their own individual characters. So our MMCs are River, Ty, Cole, and Shade.
I think what I loved about this series, other than the butt stuff, is each character has their own distinctive personality and background, and they all have different perspectives. And I feel like I got to know each one individually. Sometimes when it's like a whole ensemble, it takes a while to really, I'm like, who are we talking about? What was his deal? It never felt like that with this series.
I will say with the other series I'm currently reading, as the story progresses, I'm like, wait, is this the one with the beard? Wait, does he have the long hair? Because like multiple guys will flirt with her. Some of them are a little older. And I'm like, wait, who's who? Wait, what? I like each one of these. They're all very individual, and they actually all come from different courts. So some of the Quints, they try to make sure they're diverse so that none of it feels like a political maneuver. But this one actually has somebody from each and every court, including one that comes from a dark area. River is our group commander. He's the most, I don't know how to describe him. He's kind of aloof. He's kind of restrained because he is the commander. He's in control of the group. He has earth magic that kind of keeps him grounded. They also talk about his closely cropped hair. So he's kind of like
Kale.
Well, it's kind of like militaristic. He is always in his uniform.
Yes.
He's not branching out into anything else.
The rules are his personality for a while.
To an extent, but we also come to find out a little bit more about him.
Well, he has some secrets. First of all, he is the prince of Slate. So he's the prince of one of the kingdoms, but he has some more secrets.
Yeah, and I think being the prince probably helps make him more of a rule follower because there's just so much that's on his shoulders and way too many people that are always watching. Then we have Ty, and he's our like charming, charismatic. He's he's redheaded. He's I think a little bit of Lucian, but obviously like a little bit more charismatic.
And oh my God, how dare you say that about Lucy?
Well, Lucian hit some hard times.
Lucy had some sass.
This guy is like hardcore playboy. Like they make jokes like they show up somewhere. If there's not a brothel already there, he'll create
there will
one.
be. Yeah, I remember that. It's like if there's not a brothel there will be one. Ty. What does that mean?
A lot. And you're like, okay. Ty also has fire magic.
And he can shift into a giant uncontrollable tiger when he's in a mood. But Ty is so he's like the carefree one, but we do get more depth from him in future books. Like there's more to him than just being the like good time boy.
Yeah, and I think that he enjoys being that person. I think he's worn it a bit as a mask, which is part of like getting to know all of our characters. All of the Fae do not shift into animal forms like they do in the Throne of Glass series. It just so happens that Ty happens to be like a tiger shifter.
And Shade. Those are the two shifters.
Yeah, and we'll get to Shade too. Cole,
who is my favorite.
This guy, you want to talk about restrained. Cole has a longer blonde hair, but he has a really sad backstory.
Well, he's our moody emo boy, but he does struggle with PTSD, and yeah, he has like a very sad backstory. So if this were Dark Fae, he would be like the Rider, and then Ty would be like the Leon.
Yeah, like
it's almost like there's a formula to this shit.
So Cole, what makes it so sad is that he was actually a slave to the enemy in the Moors territory. So although I'm not even sure, I've forgotten which court he was from originally, but he was a slave for so long that when I say they come from different courts, he's coming from a totally different region, and his magic developed differently because of what he was going through and where he was.
And he has a big thing with being tied up and like being in control because of everything he's gone through.
It's like being tied up is like a PTSD trigger based on being a slave before. And he was basically a slave until the Quint bond snapped into place. And like, because when the bond snaps into place, members tend to come looking for each other. So his other Quint members came and rescued him.
It's a little like Zadist in Black Dagger, how he was
Mhm.
kept as a blood slave.
Yeah, until somebody helped to free him.
Fury, I
Yeah,
think.
his brother came for him, which is so sad. What makes Cole's magic different is because he was a slave, it more developed as like internal protection, basically to help him survive. It makes him stronger, it makes him faster, and he can heal himself very quickly. Lastly, though, this is another one of our fun boys eventually.
And this
He
was
has kind of a sad story too in the beginning.
but he was my hardest to connect with, I think.
Well, so Shade is a wolf shifter. He's got healing magic. I think forgot to look. I wrote that down. I was like, healing magic. I think he also has water magic.
Okay.
But Shade's twin, Kai, was the original 5th member of the Quint that died a decade ago.
And he hasn't, since that happened a decade ago, he hasn't left his wolf form since it happened. So once he does shift back, there's like some transitional, because like if you've been an animal, I mean, it kind of happens in Throne of Glass when people who were stuck as animals, there's going to be like a bit of a weird transition period for you.
He was definitely shutting down some of his feelings because it's, I guess, easier in the animal form not to have to deal with some of the pain he was going through. So obviously he shifts back once he's there with our FMC, and he's kind of like developing his personality again and coming out of the pain. So like it's harder to connect with him initially because you're like, you can't get a feel for him.
I feel like she fucks him last too. Like I can't remember the order of who has sex, but
No, he's the first.
First?
Uh-huh. Because
okay. I'm so wrong.
Spoiler alert, his wolf like immediately like bonds with her, and the other's like, don't you do it. Don't you do it. Don't you make this weird. And he's like, I can't stop.
I don't remember. I thought it was Cole. Okay.
No. Oh no. No.
The Cole scene lives rent free in my head.
That one
Maybe
is
it's
wild.
just because it's the one I think about the most.
Uh-huh. There's like no holds barred sex with Cole. Like for all of their there's definitely some like this is part of our formula when we read reverse harems that we appreciate. I don't want them to all have their own individual sex and then never together. Like the whole point is that this is a group. They're bonded. Like, yes, you can have your own relationship with each.
God forbid they touch each other without Elle there, or her harem will pay.
I need to be in the middle of this, okay? That's the whole point. But like it's boring to read reverse harems where they don't actually
they take turns.
Share. You know, you're like, yay.
Like the bonds that tie. I want to say that one they just take turns and it's like that's fun, but
yeah, so like she does, but I do appreciate the story develops each individual relationship she has. So like the greater as a whole makes more sense. It's not just like everybody getting in there.
The problem with a lot of the series is they make some of the people related. So like bonds that tie 2 of them are brothers. So like obviously we're never gonna all be
they do
in it.
They do reference that before Shade was in his wolf form, he and Kai, his twin, would share women between them. I'm like, that's
I guess if it's like an Eiffel Tower situation and not and, you know, and not like I don't know. I don't have siblings.
I mean, I would read it. I'm just like boys are different too though, because I'm like, yeah, I would die first before
I don't want
to
look them in the eye, but yeah.
I guess guys just don't care that much. Our FMC is Lara Lynn, but
that's very like Lara Lynn.
Is that how I said it?
No, that's just like
okay.
Putting the Lynn on there. It sounds like people from my hometown.
Yeah.
Naming their children.
Everybody's middle name is Lynn in the South. It's Lara Lynn, aka Lara. So they initially kind of call her Lara Lynn, and then she becomes Lara. We meet her when the story begins. She's working as a servant on a farm that is very close to this forest that acts as a border to the Feylands.
And it's a lot like other series we've talked about where the humans attempt to go into the Feylands and are never seen again. And we don't know if it's because they're dead or they're just being dicked down. So it's like very mysterious.
It's unclear with lurking in the forest, if anything.
Well, and the Fey rarely come to the mortal world either. So it makes what happens in the beginning of the book, them coming out to get her, just that much more shocking.
Lara lives with a few other servants and with her creepy master. He bought her from they call it orphan collectors. So I'm like, is that an orphanage? He bought her from the orphan collectors 12 years ago. So she does get paid, but very, very little. It's one of those, it reminds me of, an Assassin's Blade with the assassin and the healer. Like he finds little infractions to like dock her pay. So like she could never save herself if she wanted to,
Mhm.
because she's sort of paid, but not quite.
And she's literally shoveling shit when we meet her. She's just, like,
She
shoveling
is doing
manure.
her best to keep her leering master at bay. In the opening scene, she's shoveling shit,
Mhm.
but she also learns that her master is returning with a hunting party to hunt down a wolf that's seen on the property.
The wolf being Shade.
Uh-oh. She doesn't know Shade yet, but she has this immediate need to want to protect him.
So you cue the meet cute or, like, meets cutes?
The four females have arrived to collect Lara and to take her back to the Citadel to have this mistaken bond severed. The males are already attached to Lara because once the magic settles in, like your souls start to bond, like it's the
Mhm.
very beginning. But she has no magic. She isn't Fae. It's just going to be way too dangerous for her to be a part of their quint.
So they have to leave because even if they don't want her to be in there, they have to go to the Citadel to fix it. But guess how many horses there are?
Oh no, it's just not.
There's never
There's not.
enough.
Well, she's also never ridden a horse, so like even if there was one, somebody's gonna have to help
I
her.
got kicked by a horse.
Oh my god, really?
I mean, I was standing behind it. It was my fault, but yeah.
Did anything get broken? That feels like that would be
No,
horrific.
I mean, in the chest. I don't even know how I'm still here.
Oh my god, I feel like your heart would stop with something like that.
Maybe it was just like a little tap of like, get away from me. But I was like, I will never do that again.
Holy cow, that's terrifying, Kate.
So that is the real, like, that would be me in this situation is I'd just like stand behind a horse, immediately die.
Just skittish. Like I'm not gonna go over there again. We do love a travel trope where
Yes.
the FMC has to ride on a horse with at least one of the MMCs.
And she kind of gets passed around, right? Does she ride with one?
Well, they all act exasperated with her, so like she chooses one, I believe, to start with, and then at some point she gets stuck with another one, and we hate that for her.
Like that.
They do spend a lot of time getting to know each other because they're slowly traveling back through the forest. So we have a bit of a training trope while they travel because the males want her to at least be able to protect herself.
And the group is thrown another curveball when they get to the Citadel, and the council wants to implant one of their own males that they choose into the Quint to replace Lyra. But the whole point is that you're not supposed to have any influence
Yeah.
over who is in the Quint.
The whole reason they created this magic was that they wouldn't be able to like it would stay neutral. There's no political interference. So it's ugh. The way that they're trying to insert this, River being the commander, is like, whoa, whoa, whoa.
Mm-hmm.
Like they're clearly trying to manipulate River for slate politics, which again is the kingdom he's from.
Mm-hmm.
And just to have basically like their own little spy inserted in his quint. And he's like, no, we're not going to do that. But because he refuses, they're like, okay, well, you've got a brand new quint to train. So we're going to have you start all over again as initiates. Like, these guys are not new
These
here.
are aren't they like hundreds of years old?
Yeah,
And it's like it would be like going back to college right now.
they're like one of the top quint recruits. Like they are like amazing warriors, and they're like,
and they had to go back to school.
Oh yeah, and like there's a hierarchy there. Like if you're not an initiate, like if you're anywhere in the second or third ring of training, like they're cruel to initiates. So some of these people are like, oh cool, now's our chance to like get back at them.
Mm-hmm.
The males, again, they've all been bonded and fully trained, working together as a unit for centuries. This really feels like a threat to Lyra to them.
Right.
So not only can they not try to save her from like being harmed by breaking this bond, now they're like, oh shit, we're gonna have to like
They're trying to get her killed.
because they're thrown right into it immediately with like training and testing, and they're like, oh shit, we gotta really get her trained. And then it's an interesting turn on things. Lara learns that because of this soul bond they all have, she, as a human with no magic, can actually channel their magic, like for their bond.
She's not like other girls.
Again, so different.
And we get plenty of training montages mixed with competition tropes, like a lot of competitions. And it's kind of a school setting. Like it's not a school, it's more
It's like
of
a military
training.
academy kind
Yes.
of.
And there are some side characters like Clarissa, who I think is in the council, and then
Ooh,
Autumn.
manipulative. And then Autumn. Mhm.
And doesn't she have like her own romance?
She does with one of the other quints that's there. That's like
so there's like some it's
kind of working with them.
I would say this book is more character driven. The
Mhm.
world building is decent, but I mean the characters are really well fleshed out.
It's kind of like the world building is decent, but like everything happens like as soon as the story begins, things kick off and,
Right.
like
There's not a big lore or information dump. Like, it's like, we're on the way. Now we're training.
yeah, and the information comes up as things happen, but, like, it's almost like there's too many things happening for them to, like, take time to really get into much more than that.
Hmm.
As the Quints are training, it's slowly revealed that things are actually much worse than expected with I'm gonna say this so wrong. I think it's Quoru, which are, like, the evil bad guys that are in Moore's,
I
like
wonder if it's just Oru because, like, the Ouroboros is with the Q.
is it really?
Hmm.
Oh, yeah, it's spelled Qoru. So, whatever that
Bad
is.
guys.
They are the main,
Like monsters?
yeah, they're like, oh, they're creepy creatures that live in moors. There's all kinds of other creatures that are, like, sneaking in somehow into the realm, but they're the main, like, big bad.
It does feel like Seelie Unseelie.
It's very, like, the way they're described is, like, they sound like some kind of unseelie, like, this gray-skinned, pink mouth, like,
Ugh.
it's a weird, description, and there's also they find that there's instability within the Slate realm. So, again, River is our crown prince of Slate, his father being the king. There's some treasonous activities.
Mm.
The Quint ends up being put in several different difficult situations, not just with the competition training, but with political maneuvers. And within these situations, Lara realizes that her ability to channel the magic may actually help them or it could doom them because it's very difficult as well to pull in all the different strains of magic and keep them under control.
Yeah, before this, she was literally shoveling shit. Not a lot of her skills were transferable. So it is
there
a big learning curve. And this is unheard of. So it's not even like someone else can train her in how to do that.
well, the other Quints, they all bring their own magic to the table. I think because she is a mortal, a human without magic, since she doesn't bring magic, something with the bond is a little different. So they're not used to having to train each other in each other's magic. So they're trying to work with her to train her, but like earth magic is really destabilizing. Fire magic is very fiery and sassy, and she has
Wait,
trouble.
doesn't doesn't he like an acrobat?
Yes.
I just had a very clear vision of him like with fire, but then like twirling around.
We get like this random backstory because they end up making him want to help with some of the training and focus that like they have this type of competition within the realms where like people are using their elemental magic to do all kinds of like really
and he was
intensive
like, oh,
acrobatic training and like fighting with their magic specifically. And he was really big in these competitions and you're like, what is going on?
I don't know.
It's
I just
something
like
so
sometimes
different.
something will just pop in my head and I'm like, wait a minute.
What is that?
Was he an acrobat?
Yeah. I mean, he is, but it's also like he had this intense focus on how to use his fire magic. So like once they become initiates, they're like, we're gonna manipulate this even further to kind of like pull them apart because they want him to start being like not a professor, but
Like training or
yeah, like helping to train some of the others in how to like focus their magic, but it
Mhm.
keeps him away from the group as a whole because they're like coming into his time. that he
Don't
would be
talk to me
training
about
with them.
holes. We got a lot of holes.
We got a lot to discuss about the holes here. So as the story like really develops and they realize there's a lot of manipulations going on, a lot of instability, the Quint has to not only save Slate, but they may have to worry about saving the entire Fey realm. The question comes down to can Lara learn to tame this feral magic, this feral feral
You say it like
feral?
your sister.
Thanks so much. This feral and uncontrollable magic in time before everything implodes.
What is our chili pepper score?
It is probably around
Out of 5. 5 chili peppers.
I personally would probably say 4. So like we still have like group scenes. It's sexy. It's fun. Like Dark Fae.
At the very end is a group scene, right? That's the first.
That is like the biggest group
It's
scene.
good too.
But like there's not enough of the group scenes in my opinion.
Mhm.
But also I feel like when reading Dark Fae, that's always my 5 because I think it's more creative.
Yeah.
It's playful. It's dirty. It's like not just somebody like having sex with
It
like
is
losing her
very
virginity and
creative,
then
Dark
like
Fae.
yeah, I think that's gonna be one of my I'll give it 5 chili peppers because I think it's just so much more fun.
Mhm.
This is still good. There's different scenes I love like getting into, so I don't know, I might even like 3.5
Okay.
to
I think
f
that's
to
fair.
4.
Like the spice is spicing, and obviously that's part of the reason we keep coming back to the series. But it's also the characters. Like for a reverse harem, all of the different characters very fleshed out. Like I said, I didn't struggle with keeping track of who was who. And they all had very different and unique relationships to Lyra, and it was all on different timelines.
Mhm.
So she like immediately connects to some. It takes a little more time with others. She connects on like a deeper level with, I mean, I don't want to say on a deeper level with Cole, but like she's helping him with his PTSD, but then she's helping
Well,
River with all of his responsibility. And
you're not wrong though, because Cole's magic is internalized. So for her to even be able to harness it, like it's something he's kind of made private, like he's like made a shell for himself. So like
Mhm.
he has to let her in. It becomes a much more like intimate emotional bond
Yeah.
because he has to break down those walls for her because whether he likes it or not, his magic is seeping into her in ways. And so she's got to figure out how to deal with it.
And it's kind of like one MMC, all of those characteristics we love split into 4 different characters.
Mhm.
But yeah, it's like the timelines, like, not everyone is on the same timeline, so it's really interesting to go back and forth with how each one communicates to her and how they communicate to each other, and then in the future books, there's more politics, there's conspiracies in the other books.
Mhm. I didn't and I liked that the books are not super long, so
Yes, they are
everything is
quick.
very well developed without you having to, like, really flesh out a long backstory.
Mhm.
So, I think that makes it a fun weekend read because, like, you can get the gist of what's going on, you can follow, you're not bored, it's interesting, it's fun, and, like, it keeps it kinda, like keeps things
Yeah.
moving. Also, a big twist revealing who the actual big bad is.
Yeah, I mean, I don't wanna give it away, but and you'll see it coming, but it's pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's The Power, not The Power, just Power of Five by Alex Liddell, and then next week, we're either gonna talk about Lights Out or Blood of Hercules. Not like I haven't already talked about Blood of Hercules constantly, but those are, I don't know which one I'll go with first, but one of those.
We really need to get into it since you've been hinting at it though. So I'm looking forward to it. If you guys have a book that you think that we should review, please send us a DM at DTFA Podcast.
Thanks, y'all.
Bye.